What if Ahsoka was the chosen one? The Jedi Order was still trying to select Anakin Skywalker as per the last wishes of Qui-Gon Jinn. There are those that didn't believe him to be the chosen one from the prophecy, even with his astronomically high midichlorian count, and some didn't believe in the prophecy altogether. Jedi Master Plo Koon did believe in the prophecy and supported the young Skywalker, but he wasn't sure if it was in his or the Order's best interest for him to be the chosen one. He had little say in the matter though, so he didn't give it much thought after Skywalker's acceptance of the Order, but it came to mind as he sensed a powerful presence in the Force akin to what he had felt from the boy. He had only planned to stop by Shilly to refuel his ship, but he found himself drawn to his presence and started searching for it. Once refueled, he flew over Shilly's vast forests and grasslands, both feeling and looking for this presence that called to him. By chance, he happened upon an outlying village built deep into Shilly's wilderness. It was there they found the source of the strong presence. He had been expecting an older child young to know about how powerful it was, but instead he found himself looking down at a 4-year-old Togruta girl. Her mother held her protectively in her arms, but he could see sadness in her eyes. The village chief told of an incident a year before where the young girl attempted to rapture. Her mother had decided not to contact the Jedi, not wanting to part with her child, but during the past year, she had proven difficult to handle. They knew how to raise a Force-sensitive child, but not one this strong. Plo Koon reassured the mother that she would be safe and well taken care of as a Jedi, even admitting that she could leave the Order if it didn't fit her. Before anything though, he needed to check her midichlorian count to see if it was above the desired level. The mother hesitantly let him carefully grab the young girl's arm. The girl didn't squirm or shrink back from him. She instead stared at him with big eyes that were full of curiosity. Once he had a blood sample, he told them he would come back the next day with the results, and went back to the ship to test her blood. While the system tested it, he contacted Master Windu, informing him that he had been sidetracked, and wouldn't be able to continue his mission. He had been sent out to observe the situation out of Rim after all, not to pick up a youngling, but he hadn't been able to ignore the call. Master Windu assured him that he would send someone else, understanding that if Plo Koon thought it was important, then it likely was. Ending the communication, Plo Koon looked back at the midichlorian test and did a double take. He tested it once more, then again after that until all the blood they had was used. The results stayed the same. The child's midichlorian count was over 32,000. Skywalker's midichlorian count had already been the highest in the Jedi Order's history at 27,000, at least since they started recording that kind of thing. But this green child's midichlorian count was higher than even his. He spent the rest of the evening researching the chosen one prophecy, at least what he had access to away from the temple. He hadn't been able to get out of his mind since he first thought of it over the planet, and wondered if it was part of the Force. The prophecy was vague and prone to interpretation as all prophecies were, but it clearly said that the chosen one would become one of the strongest Force sensitives in the galaxy. He couldn't deny that this child he had stumbled upon now officially had the strongest potential in the Force. Plo Koon also noted the fact that there hadn't been a father with the mother, another stipulation of the prophecy. Perhaps he could just be absent, but if there truly wasn't a father, then it was unnerving how similar Skywalkers in this child's situations were. Returning to the village next morning, it was the first thing he asked. Though the villagers told him that the father was from another community, the mother nervously confessed that there was indeed no father, but she had been too scared to admit it. Plo Koon was also honest with her, talking about how her daughter had the most midichlorians in recorded history, and that she had the potential to become a great Jedi. The mother was hesitant, but with this fact, she knew that she couldn't raise her daughter properly, and give her as good a life as a Jedi could. Before she handed her over though, she made Plo Koon promise to tell the girl about her when she was old enough. With a final goodbye, kiss her on the forehead, she parted with her daughter, tears streaking down her orange cheek. The girl, whose name he was told to be Ahsoka Tano, curiously watched her mother before she struggled to go back to her. Plo Koon held her gently and tried to distract her as he walked to his ship. Ahsoka didn't resist too much, but he could tell that she was sad and scared about how it affected her presence in the Force. However, she still had that curious gleam in her eyes. It was something that would help her get accustomed to her new life. He continued to hold Ahsoka as they flew straight back to Coruscant, which didn't take long since Chili was only a few jumps away. Once there, landing in the temple hangar, he carried her to the High Council chambers. There were only a few members there, but the two he was looking for were among them, Grand Master Yoda and Master of the Order Mace Windu. As soon as he walked in, all the members shifted their attention to him and the girl he held in his arms. He explained everything, along with his belief that Ahsoka could be the chosen one instead of Skywalker. Grand Master Yoda paused the conversation there, instead of calling an emergency council meeting. Since the child was within the age range though, she was already accepted to the order. So, while the council members gathered, Plo Koon took Ahsoka to the creche where he left her in the care of the guardians there. Taking one last look back at her sad face before he left, he resolved to visit as often as he could. The council meeting was a mess. There were talks of kicking Skywalker out of the order, of isolating, testing, and monitoring both them, or to send them both to the service corps where they couldn't be a threat. These notions were thankfully shot down, and Grandmaster Yoda advised that they don't think of the prophecy while they make a decision. This led to the prophecy being mostly disregarded as something to listen to, though unofficially, Ahsoka Tano was agreed to be the chosen one, unless proven otherwise. Though it was unprecedented, Anakin Skywalker had been accepted per the dying wish of Qui-Gon Jinn, so he would remain in the Order. Both individuals were to be treated like any other member of the Order. With the decision finalized and the meeting ended, Plo Koon hurried back to the creche. Upon arrival, he unfortunately found that Ahsoka was already by herself, away from the other children. Her face lit up when she saw him though, and she made her way to him. He found himself calling her Little Ahsoka from then on, remembering that's how her mother affectionately called her. Time passed and it wasn't uncommon to find Plo Koon and Ahsoka together. Though she was being taken care of and taught by the guardians of the creche, Plo Koon also took upon himself to teach her a few things. She hadn't been able to make any friends, or even get close to anyone, even after she was put in a clan, but it didn't matter as long as she had Plo. As the years went by, she made astounding progress in her classes, and showed a surprising amount of control in the Force. She was ahead of her peers, but this only further ostracized her from them. It worried Plo Koon that she wasn't making connections, but after seeing that she was trying, he decided not to bring it up with her. It wasn't her fault. Even though she was ahead of them, she stayed with her clanmates, though to encourage her, Plo Koon taught her more advanced things when they were together. He only did this if she finished everything that was originally assigned for her to do that day, to the satisfaction of the instructors. Ahsoka often did this because it meant that she could spend more time with Plo. It was after she had turned 9 that she first met the original chosen one. Anakin wasn't with Obi-Wan like he often was, and Ahsoka found him in the hallway near the training hall, where she had been secretly watching some Jedi spar. She immediately tried to strike up a conversation with them, something that had become a basic greeting for her in an attempt to make friends. She didn't particularly want to make friends. Instead, it was to try to ease Plo's worry about her being alone. She had heard rumors of Anakin from her clanmates, and Plo had told her to keep her distance from him, but this just made her more curious. Anakin didn't take too kindly to her trying to talk with him, and opted to ignore her. A few of his friends came out of the training hall a moment later, giving him an opportunity to escape. He didn't hate Ahsoka, at least not anymore. When he had first been told that he wasn't the chosen one anymore, he was devastated and filled with fury. The council hadn't even believed in the prophecy, and now they got another chosen one? These feelings quickly subsided though as, without the weighty title of the chosen one, people gradually became more friendly towards him and started approaching him. This soon led to him making several friends, who he enjoyed sparring with, and showing off his Force abilities too. There were still those that bullied him, but it was overall better now. He was still jealous of the special treatment and attention Ahsoka got, but she could keep the chosen one title. It was something they didn't want to get involved with anymore. Ahsoka wasn't put off by his coldness, it being something she was used to. Instead, she hurried back to her clan before her absence could be noticed. Perhaps it was because of her, but the next year, her clan were on the gathering. They were on the younger end, definitely not the youngest individuals, but the youngest group to go in centuries. Ahsoka was beyond excited. This was the first time she had left the Jedi Temple, much less Coruscant. It didn't feel like she belonged there, surrounded by Durocrete. The only place where she felt at peace was in a room of thousand fountains, or at the base of the great tree. She remembered little before she came to the temple, but she did remember the lush, green vegetation. She had looked at the planet she had come from, Chile, or at least records of it in the temple's library, and she always felt a connection to it. Though she had been told that the place they were going to was a frozen planet, and she was wearing the heaviest clothes in anticipation, she was still eager to at least be away from the endless sight of buildings. When they got to Ilum, it was indeed freezing, and Ahsoka almost immediately wanted to leave. But she soon instead found herself enjoying the natural beauty of it, to the point where she didn't pay attention to anything Grandmaster Yoda said. She was the last in the Crystal Caves, and she quickly separated herself from her clanmates, who seemed eager to stick together. Ahsoka kept her eyes out for her Kyber crystal, but she also enjoyed running her hand over the rough stone. She was so distracted that when she paused, she realized that she didn't know where she was. Chest tightening, she attempted to backtrack, but nothing was familiar to her, and there's too many branching paths. The calmness she had been clinging to vanished in an instant, and she sank to the ground, tears beginning to fall, breathing rapidly and heartbeat erratic. She wasn't close to anyone that had come with her. Plo wasn't even back in Coruscant, so was there anyone else that would come for her, or would she be left here? Would Plo even come for her, or would she be abandoned again as her family already done? The cold and silence were heavy around her, disrupted only by the constant puffs of hot air coming from her mouth, and her heartbeat that seemed to echo down the halls at times. Whenever she opened her eyes, the grey darkness always greeted her, so she tried to keep her eyes squeezed shut. When she happened to open them again though, she realized that it actually wasn't that dark. There was a soft glow coming from the walls. As she got fascinated by this, something that Plo had told her came to mind. His voice echoed in her head, telling her a Jedi was never alone and never defenseless. They always had the Force. Gingerly, she reached out a shaking hand and felt around with the Force like Plo had taught her. After a moment, she felt a gentle tug, but it took another moment before she convinced her to follow it. As she walked, her breathing calmed and her heart steadied, though it still pounded. The pull in the Force only seemed to lead her deep into the caves, but she fought the fear down, reasoning that perhaps it was leading her to another exit. Time blurred along with the space around her, until she found herself in a large cavern, in the center of which was a pillar of stone. Glimmering from the stone drew Ahsoka forward, and she nervously approached. Subconsciously, when it was within reach, she reached out and grabbed the shining, glass-like object. Now that it was resting in her palm, she realized that this must be a Kyber crystal. It was rather larger than she had thought it would be, and she began examining it more closely, enamored with the shape and size. However, as she rubbed it between her fingers, it broke in half. Ahsoka's breath caught and panic filled her. Did she just break her Kyber crystal? No, how could she do that? It's a crystal. She had only been touching it. Still worried, she quickly and gently placed both pieces inside her glove before placing that inside her pocket, clutching it with her now bare hand. As she turned around, anxiety raced through her again. She had followed the pull in the Force, believing that it would guide her out, not to her Kyber crystal. How was she going to find her way out? Though terrified, she attempted to reach out with the Force again, and thankfully found herself being guided by it once more. It took effort to stay calm. The fear that she would be abandoned was still fresh in her mind, but the thought that she had found her Kyber crystal emboldened her. There was a lingering thought though. It felt like hours had passed. Were the others still waiting for her, or had they already left? Ahsoka only realized she had been anxiously holding her breath as she found herself exiting the deeper parts of the cave and into the smooth halls and archways that marked the entrance. As she turned the last corner, she saw that ice was already covering almost the entire entrance again, so she started running until she was past it. Relief almost took all the strength from her as she saw several of the clanmates waiting outside. After a quick head count, she was thankful that she wasn't the last one out, but it also made her wonder, had they been waiting for her or the other youngling? Grandmaster Yoda came up to her, interrupting these thoughts, and asked if she had found her Kyber crystal. Ahsoka pulled out her glove and started to shake out the contents, but hesitated. Making a split-second decision, she only let a single shard of the Kyber crystal fall into her open palm. She still wasn't sure if she had broken it, or if she should have 2 Kyber crystals, but she felt that she should keep the second one a secret, at least for now. Grandmaster Yoda nodded his approval and gave her words of praise before going to her other family who had just exited the caves. They boarded the Crucible again, where they finally met Master Hu Ying. He boasted about all the lightsabers the young Jedi had seen, getting everyone excited before giving them instructions on how to build the lightsabers. After giving them all the necessary parts, he told them to start trying to build the lightsabers. As they got to work, Master Hu Ying moved between them, offering advice and words of inspiration. Ahsoka barely touched the parts in front of her at first. Now that she had a chance, she had been gazing at one of her Kyber crystals. She was enamored by it. It felt cold, but also had heat radiating through it, and there were no sharp edges. Instead, it was smooth with defined lines and points. It shone with an ethereal light, and it already felt like it was somehow a part of her, like an extension of her presence. When Master Ying came around her, she made a show of sorting the pieces in front of her, organizing them in a way that felt natural. Master Ying just chuckled and told her that she could take apart a lightsaber any time she wanted. But first, she had to know how to put it together, and she would only be given instructions on how to do that here. Embarrassed, Ahsoka started attempting to build a lightsaber, while the other younglings constantly cast nervous glances at those around them. Ahsoka just focused on what she was doing. She already knew that she was better than them, though Plo always told her not to let it go to her head. Instead of just thinking it, this one time she figured that she would prove it. Ahsoka started meditating like Plo had taught her, even though she barely remembered anything about what he had told her. Those had been her least favorite of his lessons. Now slightly regretting that, she shifted the broader focus that the meditation usually entailed directly to the metal piece in front of her and the Kyber crystal that still glowed warmly in her palm. She wasn't sure what guided her, but she started piecing together the lightsaber, each part finding its home amongst the rest like they were being drawn together. Instead of rushing through it, she found herself taking her time, marveling how each piece fits together perfectly and how intricate and complicated a lightsaber truly was. There were a few times when she felt that something wasn't right, resulting in her moving things around till it did. By the time everything felt right, Ahsoka was the second one to complete her lightsaber, which slightly disappointed her. She had wanted to show that she was better than her clanmates, and she cursed herself for taking her time. Some spare parts scattered on the table distracted her from this thought, giving her an idea. After casting a glance around to make sure no one was paying attention to her, she gathered the parts and started tinkering with them. A shabby necklace soon lay in her hands. A necklace had a compartment that was just big enough for other Kyber crystal. Though it was crude, it would work, and Ahsoka quickly retrieved her other crystal from her glove, sliding into the compartment before promptly putting the necklace around her neck and tucking it into her shirt. Master Ying startled her as he spoke over her shoulder, congratulating her about completing her lightsaber, and asked to see it. She handed it to him, and, after examining it, he praised her, telling her that she had done it correctly, and that she must be a true prodigy. This swelled her with pride as he handed her lightsaber back to her, urging her to ignite it, and she complied. A green-yellow beam of light greeted her, and she took a moment to gaze at it before deigniting it. The body of the lightsaber was slightly different from others she had seen, with a slight curve to it and more streamlined, but the rest appeared to be the same. Master Ying offered her a clip, and she used it to attach her new lightsaber to her belt. Ahsoka stayed there for the rest of the trip back to Coruscant. The return trip took longer than before because most of the rest of her clan were having trouble building the lightsabers. She, on the other hand, was having a hard time not fiddling with her second Kyber crystal, regretting that she listened to Master Ying instead of continuing to examine the crystal. The neck she had made was slightly uncomfortable against her skin, but the pull of the Kyber crystal was what kept attracting her touch whenever she wasn't thinking. It was difficult to keep still, and she was constantly on edge. She had thought the temple had been suffocating, but being confined in a ship for a long duration with people who didn't seem to care about her was worse, especially after the taste of freedom she had just experienced in Ilum. When they finally got back, Ahsoka immediately ran off, much to the ire of her instructors. Having sensed that Plo still wasn't there, she went to the Room of Thousand Fountains and hid from everyone for the rest of the day. She took this opportunity to both calm down from what she had experienced in the caves, and to finally study the second half of the Kyber crystal. This one didn't appear to have been broken as well, There are no jagged edges, and the other one had fit perfectly inside a lightsaber. So is this a second, separate crystal? But should she have 2 crystals? She couldn't think of a single Jedi that did, not even any of the masters she had met. Unsure, she resolved to keep it a secret. When she had calmed down enough, she went back to her dorm room with her clan. Most of them were already there, and they ignored her as she came in like they usually did. But it kind of hurt this time. The next day, she was reprimanded for her behavior the day before, but she didn't care. Still, she had to catch up on what was taught to her clanmates while she was gone, on top of the day's lesson. Even though Plo was still gone, she fervently finished everything, half expecting to have the rest of the day to herself. However, another person came to give her advanced teachings. It was the first fellow to Guru she had seen, and she introduced herself as Master Shak Ti. It was the first time Ahsoka was excited to learn something that wasn't from Plo. She usually just half listened in class anyway. It was with Master T that she started to learn how to wield a lightsaber. It was by the request of Plo, who believed that she would learn better from some of her own species. Over the next few weeks, Master T started by showing Ahsoka the stars of how to wield a lightsaber, then moved on, teaching her the basics of every lightsaber form. They skipped Form 1, since she was learning that from Grandmaster Yoda with her clanmates. Master Chi also emphasized Forms 2 and 4. They were the forms that she herself specialized in. She also told Ahsoka that if she was truly the chosen one, that meant they were a Sith, and learning Makashi, a form purpose-built for lightsaber combat, would help in bringing balance. Being able to learn these more advanced lightsaber forms caused further friction with her clanmates, especially as she outperformed them. Unlike before though, it was starting to affect her, however much she hated to admit it. However, this became the least of her worries when Plo finally returned. He told her that she had made an impression during and since the gathering, and after some discussion, they believed it was finally time for her to become a Padawan. He was curious how she felt about undergoing the initiate trials.